Greetings, Patrick here, 8 Questions With, and welcome to the show. We are up here a couple minutes early, getting ready for our guest. Kyle Strauts will be here. He'll actually be here truly momentarily. Um, so our show tonight, most of our shows, we always tell the guests that we go anywhere between 60 to 75 minutes. We always try to do the 75 minutes for sure. But Kyle has an engagement, so we're gonna get this show on the road, and then he's got to get out of here by he's got to be out of here by 9:15. So that's what's going to happen. So if you have some questions for Kyle, we'll try to get them on as when he gets here. If you have questions about any of his body of work, which includes he's got a hell of a resume, I gotta tell you, and we have so much to talk about. But these are some of the films that he's worked on. He's worked on The Cabin in the Woods. He's also acted in Predator Prey, The Predator. He's also starred in this, The Predator here. And of course, I found Kyle because this truly is a first for us. This is my first IFC MidKnight actor that I have seen and like I've actually welcomed to come to the show that has actually accepted it. Not the first IFC person overall, that would be Ashlyn Clark for The Devil's Doorway. But for this was a first for us. And it's happened so fast. This is the movie that the IFC MidKnights, and you'll see that I put that in my name today instead of the 8 Questions With, because this really is sort of like an extension, I guess, of the IFC MidKnights, and this is the movie that we covered, and Kyle stars in. He plays the Midnight Man, so I'm very stoked about this show, and Kyle has a lot to talk about, and so we're gonna hit the road running when he gets here. Let's see. Yeah, wow. Yeah, the weather has been funky. People have been coming down with a lot of people have been coming down with colds and what have you. Or just just not feeling too perky. But we won't worry about that because Kyle is here to save the day. So I'm going to bring him on now, and we're going to get talking. And if you missed any of this, if you missed any of the beginning of the show, that's replays for. All right, here we go with Kyle. Oh. Ta-da!
Hey, man. You hear me back?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
All right. Let's see. It is now, it's 7:47. And so we'll get you out of here at no later than 15 after. Till then, we're just going to keep talking.
Great.
But I'll be honest with you. You better keep an eye on the clock because I might cheat.
Well, the clock is my phone.
I might tell you it's 9:15, but it could be 9:45 because that's how the Midnight Man plays, right?
Hey.
Yeah, never trust. When you ever meet Kyle, whatever you do, don't ask him the time because
he's a cheater.
That's right. Whatever you do, stay in that circle. Don't get out of the circle for nothing. Even if he offers you a sandwich, don't do it. I'm really glad you're here. It's gonna be a lot of fun chatting with you. And our good friend Marty is here. Hey Marty, how are you? He's saying right here. Says got to give this guy props. Next to Kevin Peter Hall. Kyle gets to play the Yasuda. Oh, I can't. The Predator
Yep.
monster. Okay, thank you. How do you say that anyway?
Yaucha.
Yeah. Okay, I was close.
I mean,
Yeah.
honestly,
Okay.
there's so many people that have said it so many ways, but when we were on set, that's how they were pronouncing it.
Okay. All right. All right. I feel much better about myself right now because most of the time I mangle last names. I'm surprised no one has made a clip of me doing and pronouncing last names because they would be entertaining as hell. Hey, Frog, glad you're here. He gives him such depth and dimensions. Subtle movements and gestures make him more than a monster, but a character. Yeah, same thing with the Midnight Man. He's a very interesting character,
Yep.
and yeah, and definitely a horror icon in the making. I think it's safe to say that, and not a bad thing either. But I definitely can see the Midnight Man becoming more of a cult movie as the years gone by. I'm sure it has been. I'm sure you've noticed more and more people have come up to you and talked to you about that movie.
Actually, yeah, I don't know. That's high praise. You know, with a lot of actors, is very rarely are like, hey, yeah, everything we did was amazing. Most of the time, we're like, oh, someone saw that. Great. You know, you don't really get the wider perspective on what's being seen and what's not being seen. Look at something like um, oh my God, why am I blanking? The Bug Planet.
Oh, Starship Troopers.
Like the people who worked on that project didn't think it was going to be anything, and it wasn't for a great many years. And then boom, it gets a cult following. It picks a bunch of people pick it up, and no one really knows why. It was something like there's some. What is another show that went on for a great many seasons? It was picked
Well, how
up by.
about
It starts with an S. It's a
I was going to say,
CW network show, Supernatural.
Supernatural.
They went on their first run of seasons, and then when Netflix started happening, Netflix went, okay, well, we'll show these seasons on Netflix. And when everyone watched the seasons on Netflix, they loved it so much and had such a high viewership that they made another 7 seasons or whatever it was.
Right.
So yeah, there's so many mysteries when it comes to when you make something, whether you know if it's going to be good or not, because you just kind of come in, do your best, and then go, you know. And with Midnight,
Right.
it was exactly that. Like I came on, I was like, well, you know what? I'm gonna come on and do like most tall people don't have the skill variety that I bring to the table because most tall people are just like, you play basketball and play volleyball. It's very rigid structure, what people kind of expect of you. Whereas like I do parkour and I've done dance. I've been a popping and
Yeah.
dancer for 20 years now, and all these random skills because it just was fun. And it just turns out that all those really nuanced skills made me really good at playing characters on top of, training as an actor.
When you first started out, like I noticed that you started acting, but before that you were doing a little bit of stunt work. Did people try to pigeonhole you into being just a stuntman, or did you have to fight to be seen in front of the camera?
Yeah.
Being 6'9".
Yes, I had to. I don't know if I had to fight to be seen in front of the camera. I think they started to, like we briefly mentioned before. I kind of went into something called special skills, which is before you get hired as an actor, you can get hired to play like, a crazy goat man that goes and does something really weird. But to go up a level to get hired as an actor, it's a bigger character. And so I kind of like went the traditional route. Like I did some background, didn't really work because I was too tall, unironically. Then I did special skills stuff, and right off the bat, they were like, "Oh, this guy has," like we had talked about. A lot of the times, they don't have a designation for creature actors. It's just stunt guys. So they'll hire stunt people because most stunt guys are trained in martial arts and a bunch of movement competencies, but they're not making characters for the most part. And
Right.
I was trying to show like, hey, I can do my own stunts because there's very few people who are 6'9" that move like me. But I'm not a stunt guy. Like all of my respect goes to stuntmen because the job that they do is extremely difficult and extremely taxing on your body. That's just not what I want to do. But I will do my own stunts up into a point. Like I don't want to get hit by a car. But I've done rap where they attach those wires to you and just rip you across the screen. But you know, productions really want to push you. When you're a stunt guy, they'll just throw you around because they can. And I just want to be. I'm more of an artist. I want to make art. I want to make creatures and characters. I want to impact people. I don't necessarily want to just get thrown around. So I really had to get my agent on board with that and really push and be like, hey, I can do stunts, but I'm not a stuntman. I'm an actor who can do some of his own stunts. And it's tough because they do want to pigeonhole you. They want to put you into one role. I mean, you're an actor, you're a singer, you're a dancer. But what if you do all of them? They
and
just
do it well.
Yeah, and they can't really process that, or it's not like that yet, from what I've seen in the industry. So you really do have to kind of keep knocking your hammer on the wall and go, hey, this is what I want. This is what I want. And eventually, there's people out there that can see what you have to bring to the table. But yeah, you definitely have to keep at it because they will try and pigeonhole you.
Now, how did you? Now, I think this is so much fun. Like you grew up in Canada, so where did you get your start at? I mean, like you said, you know, when you're growing up and you're that tall, and you know people are looking at you, they're already looking at you as basketball or volleyball or what have you. How did you get past that and to start acting? And who was your biggest inspiration, your biggest cheerleader during that time?
Oh man, good question. I actually played professional lacrosse, if you know what that sport is.
Yeah.
I played really high level soccer and lacrosse, and then I quit soccer for lacrosse to play pro, and then never continued. I quit when I was 23, and it's because it wasn't paying like hockey paid. Like you weren't making millions of dollars, and it just wasn't worth the damage to my body. And
Right.
so I never did. I played basketball and volleyball and badminton and all these sports because I just liked playing things. I'm really coordinated, so I like playing coordinated sports, and I like team stuff. I like playing with people. And when I got out of when I quit lacrosse and told my old man, "Oh yeah, I'm going to learn to dance now, Dad." He's like, "What the fuck are you talking about? What do you mean?" You know, like, what do you mean? I'm like, like Michael Jackson. I want to do popping, and he just didn't. At first, no one understood that. They were like, "Well, why?" I don't know. It looks cool and feels cool to do, and I love music. And so there was some resistance in that switch into like trying to do more non-traditional skill application. And then I went to university at the same time for kinesiology. I got a degree in kines, which is like the study of the human body and nutrition and all that stuff.
Right.
And yeah, I think one of my biggest fans probably was me. Honestly, there was a lot of doubt. People, like my nickname in the dance world is Too Tall, and I was named that because someone said I was too tall and I sucked, and so that became the irony of my nickname. That I took that and ran with it. It was like, no, watch me. Just give me a few years and you watch me. And that, I think, was the biggest agitator. But, then my family was on board. My parents were on board and they went, wow, they really saw how much effort I was putting into it. And they kind of started to see when I started taking the dance stuff and using it in my when I was working on film sets. And they were like, oh, wow, he's really found a way to kind of use that. And for, boomers, is it going to make money? Is it going to sustain a living? That was always the impetus to like do something where I'm like, I just do it because I enjoy it. And I want to do something different than most tall people. And that was just what I ran with.
Now, what type of dance did you do? Was it freestyle or did you have a certain discipline?
The style itself is called popping. And under that umbrella, I do a style called animation, which is just a lot of really finite control that has like really like specific, which is directly translated to like a character. When you think about that, when you think of a character and you see like an ultra close up, if they go like with their hand, there's a difference between approaching, with a slow hand like this and maybe like a little finger coordination. Like all those little details have come from my animation and popping for sure. Because you have to train a bunch. You have to retrain your body how to move. And being tall, it was really effing hard.
Our chat is popping here. My fellow Midnighter has just walked in through the door. And that's Mary. Mary is part of the crew that we watched The Midnight Man and we talked about it. And Mary's was there for that, as was Jen from Jen's Reviews of the Grave. She was there for our discussion about The Midnight Man. This is a lot of fun. This is our first time that we've actually gotten an IFC actor to sit right here with us. We've had one director. We had Ashlyn Clark from The Devil's Doorway. So glad you guys are all here. This is amazing. Thank you guys so much, and thank you, Marty, for sharing us out. And there's John from Doomsday Crypt. Yeah. So if you have questions, go ahead and start firing them in right now. We have Kyle for a little bit. He's got an engagement at 15 after, so we don't have him as long as we normally do. So if you have questions about his career, his body of work, please feel free to post them. Yeah. Okay. So now you're dancing, and I like the idea. What I've heard this from many actors too. The parents have always been sort of reluctant, to jump on board, or they'll come back and say, well, okay, this is what you want to do. I'm with you, but I also want you to have a fallback plan. So try to get your degree. If you're going to go to college for acting, please try to get a degree that you can use, and just in case, or keep you going between jobs. So I think that's cool. Once they figure out after 3 years that you're taking your ass to the studio 3 or 4 times a week or whatever it was, I think they turn around and say, well, yeah, our son is serious about what he wants to do, and I'm all about that. So that must just really have just ramped up your confidence, big time.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone, I'm sure most people can attest. A lot of the traumas we deal with as adults are things that happen with our parents as children, like how they treated us, how much support they gave us. And I've been very fortunate that my dad was hard on me, but he was always like a really good supporter of me in athletics. And then my mom, like when I really got into creative stuff, was very supportive, but always, like, well, I don't know, you're going into acting, Kyle, you know how hard that is. Very few people make it. And, I'm like, yeah, but mom, if I live in that way, then I've already lost. Because if you have the highest belief in yourself and that you have a chance and that you have something to share that's original and authentic, then you're already doomed. So it was interesting because it created actually a tighter bond with my parents, and they kind of saw the adult in me where I was like, no, I'm doing this regardless. And then they're like, yeah, well, that is Kyle. I've always been like, don't matter, I'm doing it.
That's right. And as a parent, if I'm sitting here and I'm watching this, and I'm watching how hard you work and the dedication that you've shown. I mean, to me, man, that's an extension of how good your parents were. They should understand that, hey, he's here because you got him here. To a sense, you got him to have an open mind, to be creative. I mean, why shut the door on that? So I think a lot of parents have to take a step back and go like, I'm going to continue to encourage him because. I guess, what do they call it? Living vicariously. I mean, in a sense, they could like, wow, this is and we do have questions coming through. I got one for you from Mary. It says, what was the hottest costume to wear?
Oh man,
that's a good question.
Probably, actually, it was the one for 2018 Predator, the one with Shane Black. That one was definitely the hottest because it had the most layers. Like they had the synthetic silicone suit that they build in. Like I had to actually stand in the most awkward position like this, holding some wooden poles, and then they paint you with this goo that eventually hardens over the next half an hour ish, and it makes the exact shape of your body so that when they build the silicone suit, it fits you. But they don't take into account what if you get bigger, what if you get smaller, like the expansion. And when we did that film, it wasn't just the suit that we put on, like the silicone body that zips up on the back. It was, then we had the armor, then we had the padding, then we had the clothing and the cloth around it. So you're just a giant heater essentially. And naturally, like here's some of my kin degree, when you exhaust heat out your body, you exhaust it at the top of your head, your hands, and the bottom of your feet. Now when everything is covered, so say when the head's on, I have the gloves on, I have the feet on, your body goes into a kind of panic mode because it's screaming, going, I need to exhaust this heat. And the only place the heat could come out of was, there was a little hole here that had a meshing where my mouth was, and I would be going like this, breathing, but all the heat's trying to come out there too. So I'm essentially breathing in and out the heat that's coming through my whole body out this hole. So that suit was unbearable. And it was also because we were shooting when it was really hot indoors in the studio. Yeah. And actually the other actor, Brian Prince, he fainted. He fainted on set. And they, you know, that was a whole other spiel, but you really have to like have your boundaries with production, speak up and say, hey, we need Gatorade, we need a time with the head off to get fans on us. And he was just trying to like be the good actor, and he ended up fainting, which is super dangerous because you're wearing all this. And then they like sent us home right away, and they had to rebuild the safety protocols and stuff like that. So that one was definitely push the boundaries of the meditation you're doing when you're doing suit work.
Now, when you do suit work like that, are you held to exact, you know, like this is, you know, let's say you weigh 275, and they give you, okay, he's probably going to lose 10 pounds during the shooting, so 265, 275. Are you underneath weight restrictions? You know, like you can't weigh more than 275, and you can't weigh less than 265. Are you given that before you start to shoot, so they can work, you know, so they can build the suit around that?
Well, they pretty much, it wasn't a hard line, like it's not written in contract, but they say, hey, try and stay around the same size that you are, or don't make any really big shifts. Like it would take a bit to really change your size to get bigger. You'd have to eat a lot more. To get smaller, you'd have to really restrict. If anything, I was eating more during production and still losing weight because we were sweating so much. Because when you're wearing a suit for minimum 12 hours a day, if you're doing any type of shoot day, it's probably 12 hours. And we only had about an hour out of the suit for lunch. And even then they'd be like, can you just kind of leave it half on? And we'd be like, no, I'm getting out. When I'm out, I want my out time, and I want to, you know, walk around and stretch my legs and stretch, because you can't stretch wearing a suit, because the way it's fitted to you, if you fit it like this and I go like this, it's like
right
spans on your arms. So everything is kind of work. So anything we're doing is like 3 to 5 times harder than we normally would do it. So I think they said stay around the same size, but I think on both Predators for sure, I lost some weight. I was cutting because it was so intensive.
Let's see. Another question here. Let's see. John saying, I think I know Kyle's agent. If it's Peter V, always speaks highly of Kyle. And then John mentions how cool was it to become the Predator and being himself transformed. Yeah, what was the reaction you got? I mean, here you are walking inside a huge franchise, and you get cast, including, you know, and the movie directed by you know, Shane Black, who directed the film, but he also starred in the original Predator. Not very many people realize that Shane Black, before he went behind the camera, he was in front of the camera. And what was that? What was that like when your agent called up and said, "Kyle, guess what? Can you remember how what the emotions were when you did that? When you got the part?"
It wasn't my agent that called me. It was the producers of 20th Century at the time. And I had just flown down the week prior to LA. So the original thing, there was like a couple, I think it was 3,000 people applied to play the character. And every couple weeks they would message me or email me and say, hey, you're in the top 1,000. Hey, you're in the top 500. Hey, you're in the whatever. And one day they called and said, hey, you're in the top 5 performers being chosen to audition for the Predator. We're flying you down in a week. And I was like, oh, what? And so I didn't, I didn't truly think I would get that far. I was like, oh shit. Okay, well, I'm I'm not working this week. So, I cut all my plans, shut everything down, trained in the gym every single day in front of a mirror. I wrote like a little storybook of how I wanted to play a character. I just made up a Predator character. I watched all the films again and was like, okay, like I'm ready. Did the audition. I ended up doing some really cool stuff in the audition that the other guy, low-key, they hated that I did it, but we all respected each other, so it was all fun. But I did some cool stuff in the audition, like I took a pool noodle and pretend to pull it up spine at the end of my like parkour run, and they loved it so much, they made all the other guys do it. Cool little story note. But they flew me home because I was the only Canadian. There was 4 other guys who were American, and they said, well, if you're hired, we're going to call you within the next week. So I went on with my days, doing whatever. I was dating someone at the time, and I was at her house, and I was literally laying in a bed, visualizing. I was laying like this and visualizing myself coming up and going Jeep, into the Predator's body. Like I was like, I am this character. I am this character. I am this character. They want me to play this character. And that's what I did for probably 2 hours straight at her apartment. And my phone rings. And I'm looking, I'm like, what fucking number is this? Who is that? Oh, it's an American number. Hello? Hey, Kyle. Yeah, it's, Joe Blow with 20th Century, blah, blah, blah. We're calling just to let you know, we really loved your performance. And then you came down and really gave it a rock solid effort. And I was like, oh, fuck, I didn't get it. Like, I could just tell by the way he was talking. Like, it sounded like he was setting me up to be like, sorry. And he goes, yeah, and, we want to hire you as the Predator.
Nice.
What? Are you fucking kidding me? And they're like, excuse me? I'm like, oh, no, sorry. Like, are you serious? And they're like, yeah. And I thought I pressed mute, and I went to the person I was dating. I yell her name, and I'm like, get in here right now. Holy fuck, they just called me. And I didn't put them on mute, so they heard everything. And we were like jumping around in the room, and then I hear them laughing on my phone. I pick up my phone.
Yeah.
Hello? I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. They're like, no, they're all laughing. Like, no, that's the best reaction we could have hoped for. I'm like,
Yeah.
Wow. And they're like, we'll see you. We'll be reaching out in the next few days. I'm like, okay, thank you so much. I'm like, I won't let you down. They're like, we know. We'll talk to you soon. And that was it. And yeah, it was a really like, funny enough, it was a very movie moment because not that I didn't believe in myself, but when things like that happen, you just never really know. Even when it feels right, you're still like, is it though? Am I hired though? Like, are you sure though?
Right.
That part of you that always wants to,
I mean, it's a major franchise. I mean, your life, it's life changing. That's a life changing role.
Yeah.
You go from you go from working smaller films or smaller parts, or I mean it's still work, it's still important, it's still critical,
Of course.
but all of a sudden you get reached out and you get put into not one. How many Predator movies have you been in? 3 or 2?
2. I actually got 2 because of it.
Oh,
Brownie
God,
points.
awesome.
Anyone who can figure out what this says, I'll leave it up. If you can figure out, this translates directly into English. I worked on 2. I worked Chains in 2018, and then I worked on Prey 2021 with Dan.
Prey. That's amazing. And I know right now the franchise is quiet. I mean, now, but once it gets fired up again, once it starts, they're going to come get you. They are.
I know they did Badlands in New Zealand, and a lot of people don't know this about film sets and how they hire actors, but a lot of the times they get retroactive bonuses for hiring locals. So because it shot in New Zealand, they hired a New Zealand local to play the character, and I think it fit because he was a smaller guy. He was shorter. And then in between Prey and that one, Dan did the animated series, which I think I mentioned to you. He did the 3-part anime. There was a samurai, a medieval, and a Viking. I can't remember. Something like, or no, there was a World War II samurai and a Viking. But yeah, I don't know if they do shoot it in the States or here. I would be surprised if I didn't get a call, because there's just no one who moves like me at my height. I know them all, but I don't want that to come off sound like hubris. But yeah, I would love another chance to. Yeah, just I've learned so much since the last one, and my skills have increased so much more, and even my movement, and my weapons training, because I train bow staff, I train longsword, I can do a nunchuck. I also have a 9-foot bullwhip. Like I've always wanted them to allow me to play a character where I can use the whip and maybe have like a spikes on the end of it or something, just like something really primal. I thought would be a really cool addition to the character, especially if it was another prehistory era, like Prey was in like the 1700s, something like that.
Well, either that or you can play Whiplash. I mean, like truly play Whiplash as he should have been played, instead of that that horrible thing they made Mickey Rourke do. Oh my God. Now it's funny, we're talking about Predator, and we're talking about you did the 2018, and you also did Prey, but you also did the Midnight Man before that, so you already made your mark. And as far as horror movies go, you already put your foot down in creating the Midnight Man. So, and that, according to your IMDb, that was only your second job. Is that true? Was the Midnight Man truly, as far as your acting, what you're doing now, was that really your second role?
Yeah,
the Midnight Man.
Wow, the lead, like that villain was one of the leads of the film.
Yeah.
And that, I think I mentioned, that audition was crazy to me because I had just been dumped by a girlfriend. It's one of those life hits where I had just been dumped by a few years with this girl, and the next day I came in for the callback, and I sat down on this couch, and it was kind of awkward, and I was like, so do you want me to do what I did in the last audition, or you want me to do it again? And they're like, oh, no. This is actually the director. He's here right now, Travis. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up, man? And he's like, yeah, not only are you hired, we're redesigning the costume to match the movement performance that you just put on tape. Where I'm actually blown away at what you showed me. I was like, what? He's like, yeah. I was like, this is, wow. Are you serious? And they're like, yeah. And they were talking about another person doing the voice, and then he ended up being like, no, I want you to do the voice. And then but yeah, that's how that started. And then, boom, the next month they flew me out to Winnipeg, and I was living in Winnipeg for a month, and first like really big job. And I put so much work into that, like so much research and detail and practice. And like I came with a whole book of creative ideas. So if he asked me ever if I had any suggestions, I had a lot of suggestions.
There's a picture of Kyle right there on the cover of the movie. So and this is Kyle right here as the Midnight Man.
The masks were really cool. I love that cover. Holy.
Yeah, that cover is IFC quality.
Yeah, that's badass.
Yeah, it is totally badass. Just not to mention anything, but we do the IFC show the last Sunday of every month. So so just letting you guys know that you never know who you might meet, on the last Sunday of every month. So wow. So they changed the character for because off your audition. Now I haven't heard anybody do that yet. That's got to be super. And I love that. I was going to ask you, were you able to keep your speaking voice in that? Because sometimes they dub it, but yeah. I think that's really a sign of respect that you were allowed to keep your voice, because your voice is just as effective as the creature itself. In fact, you have to have that voice with the creature. Yeah, it has to go together.
It's very rare, honestly. It sounds terrible. It's very rare to get that respect. Most of the time, production doesn't really care about respect. It's about the idea that they have, what they wanted to do, and it's like there's been roles where they're like, hey, we want you to be this character and play this character, but the singing part, we're going to make you face away, and we're going to hire an opera. They'll do stuff like that. So I wasn't attached to it, and Travis, I really bugged him and said, "Hey," and I'm pretty tech savvy, so I was like, "Hey, I'm gonna throw some stuff while we were on location." I was like, "I'm gonna record some stuff on my phone and put it on my laptop and send it to you, and you can send it to the producers and see if they like it, because I am trained also in voice, so, and I also sing, so I have quite a command in my voice." And I was like, "I've got some really cool ideas, and I think you should just listen to them." And I would send them, and he's like, they might go this way, they might go that way. So I just didn't know when I was first sending them voices if they were going to let me do it. And so on set, I just did all the voices I wanted to do, and they just mic'd everything and took it all anyway. I think in the end, they ended up doing like a VFX on the voice itself, so it sounded a bit more raspy and like crazy,
Right.
more ethereal, so to speak.
Now, here you are. You're on set. You got cast as the Midnight Man. Your second big movie, and you get to work with Robert Englund and Lynn Shay. Now, were you a big horror fan before the movie, before you got cast, or did you know who they were and their reputations before you were cast, or did you already know and walked on set going like, "Holy shit, it's Lynn Shay and Robert Englund"?
Well, I definitely right off the bat knew Robert Englund. Like, I grew up on Freddy, so I knew him right off the bat. And they didn't tell me until I got hired, and they sent me the script, and then I saw the cast list. And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I thought like, "Oh, he's playing a person. He's an actual character in the film." And he only did the film, and she only did the film because they were working together, and they hadn't worked together in many years, and they're really good friends. So I thought that was cool. But I knew of Lin Shaye, but I had to search up, and I was like, "Oh my god, I've seen her in this and this and this." And she's just a phenomenal actress. And meeting both of them for the first time on set was, they are such characters. Lynn was it was actually crazy. I was downstairs. We're in this big mansion, and there's a little tangent here. We were in the mansion, and yeah, I think it was probably my third day on set. I had already done a few days on set, and it was her first day. And she's up in the bedroom, sitting on this bed, and the makeup's doing stuff on her bed, and they're like, "Hey, Kyle, so technically you're in this scene, but because the camera's just on her on the bed, we don't need to see you. But Lynn is requesting you." I was like, "Oh, she wants me to like line read?" Yeah. They're like, "No, she just wants to look in your eyes." And I was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, sure." So I come upstairs, and she's in the bed, and the makeup lady's like this, doing stuff on her face, and she goes, wipes, wait a second, jumps off the bed like a teenage child and walks right up to me. And she's literally half my height. And she walks up to me and she goes, "Can I hug?" And I was like, "Of course." And so we just have like this sweetest hug. And she looks up at me like this, like a like a child, and it's just like, I already like you. I can tell you're a good man. And I was like, wow. Like everyone in the room, it's kind of awkward. Everyone's just watching this interaction. And I was like, wow. I was like, "That's a very kind thing to say." She's like, "Yeah, so I know you're not really saying anything, but I really want you by the camera because I just want to connect with you." And I was like, "Fuck yeah, do it." And so in the scene, she's seeing me. If you've seen the movie, she's seeing me in the closet. And when she's seeing me in the closet, my hands are coming out, and look at her.
Right.
I'm actually sitting at the end of the bed looking right at her. And her aura and her energy was so powerful when she was looking at me that it made me cry. I was tearing up as she was looking at me. All we did was just look at each other, and we did a bunch of takes of it, and it was just so like her presence in person was just. I've never worked with anyone like that. It just blew me away. And after that, we went down and we were having lunch and ended up just hanging out and talking. But it's just, you can, people who are present in their like, not just their bodies, but like in their being like that. I understand so much about great actors because they're so in the moment that it impacts you just to see them in the moment. So I was just like, "Oh my god, I'm working with legends." And then when Robert showed up, he's one of the biggest storytellers I have ever met my whole life. Like, he has so many damn stories about his life. It would just make.
I bet. He froze. Hopefully he'll come back. Let me ping him and tell him to Oh,
Did I freeze?
yeah, just for a second. You're okay.
Okay.
Wow. So I mean, how cool is that? I mean, that is like that's an amazing story, and Lynn Shay just proven once again why she is just a living legend. You know, she really is. She's one of those actresses, and Robert is too. That when like like you and I were talking before, and it's so rare to see. And we mentioned this when we were talking about the Midnight Man on the IFC show. We were so impressed that he actually got a role with he had to play a real character, and he played it straight. You know, it's like it's so freaking rare for him to get roles like that. If you go and look at his his resume, he's in a ton of movies, but he's always playing some sort of variation of Freddy. There's always a little bit of Freddy in everything he does, whether it be a creature feature or what have you. For him to be able to come out there and do a role like this, it reminded us that, he's a hell of an actor when he's given the material,
Oh
you
yeah,
know?
he's trained
And so,
too. Like he was, and it was he's classically trained too. His even the spacing in his verbiage, like the way he spoke, was just so. He had and he also had like really cool ideas when he would be talking with the director and like come on. I think that's probably one of the big reasons he jumped on the project, because he got to play a person. He got to bring a lot of autonomy to his role, and like, oh my god. And we were just talking about getting pigeonholed. I'm sure he's been pigeonholed because, oh, you did Freddy, so everything you do is going to be Freddy adjacent. So for him to get something where he can just play and also be with his friend, you could feel it in his ease, the way he showed up on set. Like he was really enjoying the process.
yeah, yeah. And Mary's mentioning it was him playing a good guy role too, which is a nice change. Yeah, I haven't seen him play a sympathetic role since I saw him in V.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of his career.
Yeah.
Hi Sue, how are you? Glad you're here. Glad you're here. So and then Lynn, she's always playing the good role. She played more or less is always playing like in the Insidious series, and so it was really strange to hear her just like just go off, hear her yell and curse and just like her. It's like, wow, who the hell is that? And why I'm watching a movie, but I'm scared of her.
Oh, man. It was even like a movie is always a reflection of what's happening on set. Like when you witness people really go to those depths in person, it's crazy to witness and like to watch. Her scenes would come up. I would go upstairs, even if I wasn't in them, and just watch. I would just hang out on set because I was like, "Hey, clear the set." They're like, "Okay, Kyle, yeah, you can stay." Because I was like, "Yeah, I want to watch. I want to see her get down." And like, she just had a vibrance of like a 20-year-old. It was crazy. Like her energy was so like, yeah, and you could see it in her performance. I mean, her performance in it, just like, everything else is kind of under it. It was so textured the way that she brought herself to set.
Now, what did you take for that movie, as far as applying your experience on set, to your further next few roles? What did you take most out of that? I mean, out of that experience.
I mean, I learned how much they actually let you do on your own accord. Like when they're like, "Oh yeah, we want to be collaborative," but rarely are they collaborative. Most of the time, they have an idea and they paint it before you, and they're like, "Yeah, if they give you an option, is once or twice, like, oh, what do you think here?" I learned how to speak up more for myself and be like, "Hey, I have an offering. Hey, I'm feeling this way. Hey, I think this might work better to tell this part of the story." Trying to do that without stepping on toes is a really refined skill, because the director has a vision. The DP and the cam op, they have a vision, and if you don't want to step on any other department's toes, but at the same time you want your performance, and if you're there and they're hiring you because of your creativity, so you really have to speak up. And I learned to speak up for myself. I learned the limitations and like I learned the limitations of like what my body's capacity was, and like when to put in my full energy and when to like kind of relax on set. Because if you're just tense all day, like and doing push-ups and like getting ready in the room, you're doing that for 7 hours, and then by the time it's like midnight, by the way, hey, it's midnight, time for your first scene. You've been sitting around and doing crazy shit all day. Now you're tired, so you need to know how to budget your energy, which a lot of people don't really talk about. And even as just a general actor, you rarely are you show up on set. Hey, Kyle, it's been 10 minutes. We're ready for you. It's very rare like that. It's usually you sit around for a really long time, and then out of nowhere, they're like, okay, we need you now. And you have to be like, hey, in the future, please give me a 15-minute warning. So send one of the ADs to come and like be like, hey, Kyle, we need you in 15. So you can do your warm up or prep right there instead of trying to warm up and prep all day. So yeah, a lot of those little like micro nuance skills of just being a performer to know how to manage your energy and time, while still, yeah. And speaking up for yourself. You really have to speak up for yourself.
Now, I was gonna say, I was gonna ask this about the Predator, but I'll ask this about both the Predator and the Midnight Man, and any other roles that you've been where you played where you've been heavily in makeup. Do they assign a PA to you, like whatever you need as far as drinks or maybe quick energy bar or what have you? Do you have a dedicated PA to help you? Because like you said, it's not like when you sit down to eat lunch you can take off all your makeup, or when you do an intense scene, it's hard to can't really see you walking around looking for Gatorade.
Yeah,
Do
and if
they
you
have do they have PAs on set with water and Gatorade and snack bars ready for you to eat to maintain your energy up? Is that a luxury that you have on all sets, or just the major studio sets?
I would say it's probably more for the major studio sets, or if you're like if you're just there for a day call and you're playing a character, rarely will that happen one day. But for the big ones, like both the Predators had PAs that helped, or like if it wasn't the PAs, it was one of the makeup team, so the VFX, because the VFX team's always kind of with you, tweaking the suit, tweaking the mask, tweaking, and so they're usually kind of on board as a team member to take care of you. So they also have the little fans that they blow in your face, and but yeah, energy bars, Gatorades. Both the Predators had it. Midnight Man kind of had it, but I could take off my gloves whenever I want. So that's also a thing. If I can't take my gloves off when we were ready to shoot, I need someone to actually feed me or pour the drink
Right.
in. Like I can't just do it myself. And same with this one. This was for Are You Afraid of the Dark? I also had PAs that would come around and help. PAs are great. Like I mean, like that's really what they do, is that they're the call on everyone kind of job to go around and help. So
Right.
they're making sure if they're not directly giving it to you, they're supplying you. So at your chair, you always have a Gatorade or a bar. And again, you have to speak up. You have to be like, hey, this is what I need to perform at the level that you want. So please make sure that it's there. So yeah, for all the big ones especially, yes, because they need you at your peak. So they're doing that as a part of the investment, right? They want to make sure, and they also don't want you to pass out, because then there's
Right.
insurance, you know.
Yeah, because then you have to go back to what happened to the other actor who passed out, and you have to send everybody home. And I mean, that's costs a lot of money.
Yes.
And you have to worry about the talent, make sure that because you don't want to have your talent get sick on set.
Yeah.
We got a question from our good friend Eric here. He says, "Did you ever feel claustrophobic under all that heavy makeup?"
Yep. I'll tell you this: if you're ever doing creature work, creature acting, because now I've gone to a few conventions too for the roles. There's people like, oh, I love creatures and I love this, and they're like, oh, I could do it. But you can do it for a day, and you do it for a few hours, where you can take a pee and take a poo whenever you want. You can eat whenever you want. It's different when you're doing days and days and days and days, back to back, 16-hour days for 7 days. Where you don't get to take it off whenever you want. You have to be like, hey, I need to go 10-1. I need to go 10-2. I need a Gatorade, but like you can't eat till lunch. Like once you're doing it back to back to back, it really ramps up the stress level in your body, because your body, you do get used to it, you do acclimatize to it. But I actually had a meditation practice to de-stress my body, because the more that you cover yourself, your body's like, get this off me, get this off me, get this off me.
Yes.
You have to really have a really good breathing apparatus. You need to know how to do what's it called? The four square breathing, where you really keep your heart rate down. Because once you start coming up and get the anxiety builds, you'll have a panic attack, and then they have to rip the suit off you, and that's not cost wise. They're not going to like that either. So then you're thinking about, oh, I'm worried about me, but now I don't want them to wreck the suit, because then it's, you know. So to do suit work, you really have to do a lot of preparation in terms of like before I was doing Predator, I would wear multi layers of clothing and go for runs and wear like weighted vests and wear a ski mask while I was doing it. So I had a hard time breathing. So that when I got to do the Predator stuff, I was like, oh, this is actually not as bad. You know, I learned that lesson and was like, oh, okay, I have a little hole I can like breathe through. I'm okay. And you give yourself those little wins, and your brain's like, yeah, you're okay. You're not going to pass out. So yes, short answer is claustrophobia is a real thing for sure.
Wow. Have you ever witnessed that yourself while you're in the makeup chair? Have you witnessed another actor just lose it with have a panic attack?
I won't say what project for the respect of the actor, but yes. And it's really because a lot of the times what you want to do is just rip things off. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure you've seen it like with what's his face who played the Penguin, Colin Farrell. Like there was a time where at the end of the day he's like, get this fucking thing off my face. Like they get really, and people are like, oh, why is he so impatient? It's like, well, if you knew, a lot of people just aren't ready for the stress of what it is to have something on you, covering you the whole time. That, yeah, I have seen someone have a full-on nervous breakdown, and I've also seen someone get really pissed off and just rip it off, just tear it off. So like, okay, the shooting day is done.
I think for me, when I watch that, the people I sort of feel sorry for, but I sort of look at it sort of like, this would be a good opportunity if you use it right, or probably be the actors who smoke, because there they are, it's not like they can light up while they're getting made up. And here they are sitting in the chair for 10 or 11 hours. And, that's got to be underneath their skin. And, it's like, I know Colin Farrell used to smoke, so I'm not sure if he still does, but I can imagine, those actors, like, okay, I need to get outside. I need to go outside and smoke for a minute. That's intense. That would be it sounds glamorous, but I'm sitting here thinking about what you had to go through, sitting there getting all that put makeup on, and I'm going like, man, that's a fun way to make a living, but man, not everybody's going to is up to it.
There definitely is fun parts, but a lot of people look from the outside and see accolade. They're like, to be a Predator, yeah, but they don't realize that there's so much expectation and so much pressure and so much body trauma. Like, it's extremely difficult and taxing, and like you end up spending a bunch of your money that you made at the end too, because you have to recover your body. Your body's been beaten up.
Right.
So, yeah, it's a full on. It's a lot of work. You're getting paid fairly for what is happening to you. Put it that way.
And after you did the Midnight Man, you started expanding. I mean, I noticed that you you started segueing into more different roles, more different, both in front of the camera and the back of the camera. I know you mentioned you got into doing a little bit of writing of the scripts. So when did that happen? When did you decide that you want to write a script? I mean, were you on set when that happened? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, actually, so after I did The Predator with Shane Black, I used some of that money and I went to India, and I spent a month and a bit in India with a good friend of mine that she was already going before she did her PhD. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to come. And we went all over the country. And while I was sitting in the top of this like 1,000-year-old building in the middle of a village, I actually brought a book with me and I started writing. I'm like, I'm going to create a film. But I mean, I've always been an artist. So like for me doing like acting and creature stuff and stunts and all this, like I'm an artist at heart and I like to create stories. So it wasn't a big surprise to me because I've always wanted to create my own story. And that was where I wrote the first one in India. And I came back and did a crowdfunding thing and funded it and did like a whole like campaign where like all the crowdfunding was in character, all the little video clips in character. It was really fun. And I shot that film because I wanted to know what it was like to write, create, produce, direct the whole film from front to back, to know how that's done, and sit down with the editor and go through, and so yeah, I think it's just by extension of me being a creator. I love to make. It's what got me into writing. It's what makes me develop all these weird skills. Like I've now been singing for 8 years, but now I do throat singing, Tuvan throat singing. Yeah, it's just that knack to want to like learn and generate new skills and generate stories that just kind of flowers into all these different aspects of my life.
We got a couple more questions over here. The chat has been awesome in kicking down questions. Eric asking, what's the longest you've ever had to be in the makeup chair, applying and removing? I would say that's a good question.
The longest was a character that never got played in Deadpool. I got cast in Deadpool when I was working on the Predator because it was shooting at the same time in Vancouver, and the makeup for that one was 8 hours, and they didn't end up going with the role. It got cut from the film, but that was the longest. I wasn't on set. I think the longest I did in a chair for an actual gig that I worked was I think it was about 4.5 hours on, and there's always the takeoff is at the end of the night. So the takeoff is usually a lot quicker, but they can't just rip it off you. They have to go like use these little swabs and use alcohol and use this. They have to be careful around your eyes and things. Like the application takes way longer than taking off, but taking off still usually an hour and a half minimum to do it properly. So I combine that. So if I'm saying like in the makeup chair, I also combine the taking off. But yeah, I think 4.5 hours application was the longest I've had for a facial structure, and that was for Van Helsing, I believe.
Oh, okay. God, I love Van Helsing. Wow, how did I miss that? Let me ask you a little bit about that. Well, let me ask you. Let's get Mary's question in here first. And she wants to know did you have a favorite set or location? I would think it'd probably be Van Helsing. Weren't you in Europe for that?
No, Van Helsing was here. My favorite set location was for Prey. We were in Kananaskis National Park in Alberta, which is right against the Rocky Mountains. And if you search up Kananaskis, it's absolutely magnificent. It looks like Mordor, essentially. And it kind of goes really flat, and all of a sudden just goes boom, mountains and like trees and lakes. And so we were right at the edge of the Rocky Mountain range, where it was like rolling hills and these huge pine forests. It was so cool.
Yeah, that's Canada. That's some beautiful place to work at. I mean, I've seen several shows from Canada, and yeah, I can see why people go up there to shoot movies on the outdoors. I can see why they go up there to do it. So let's see. I was going to ask you something. I want to talk to you a little bit because I love Van Helsing. Now you're Van Helsing. There's two. We got the movies and we got the TV show. You did the TV show. I saw this, but I never really put two and two together. Was Van Helsing the TV show? Was that connected to the film in any way?
Yeah, it's connected to the same canon, same lore. I actually haven't watched all of Van Helsing's, but yeah, the character I played was essentially. It looked like it's funny because I got cast as the character that is bodiless, like I'm just a head, and the head is on the lid of a truck on the front of a vehicle. So like the engine bay, they had to cut a hole in it, and I had to sit in an engine bay. Someone who's 6'9", they made sit in an engine bay. My head would stick out, and then the front engine cover would come together like this, and the hole would be right where my neck was, and so it looked like it was just my head. And then I was the intro of the episode was me having a conversation, but it was the Dark Lord channeling through me. So I got to be really weird with it, and it was super fun.
So you got to play a floating head.
I mean, it's a head sitting on the lid of a car, on the but it was just hilarious that they're like, why are we putting the 6'9" guy in this? Like, you know, we're crushing him into this car, and they also gave me special contacts that were really hard to see out of. So someone had to like hold my hand to get to the car. It's just some stuff that happens on set is so ridiculous when you actually see how it's done.
Now, I mean, with you know, with sets like that, I mean, I'm sure that one of the most important aspects of shooting, especially when you're in costume and or makeup, is humor. You know, you gotta be lucid, relaxed.
Yeah.
Have you ever has someone ever done that to you, made you laugh so hard that you know you find yourself going like, oh shit, I have to go to the restroom, because they're trying to lighten the mood up, because it can't be fun sitting in the chair for 10 or 12 hours. You know, I know I've heard of actors who sit there and say, you know, a lot of times people will leave you alone while you're doing makeup, whereas in fact they don't want to be alone. They want someone in there with them to talk to them.
Yeah, that's good about it. You're right.
Now, has that ever happened where someone has come in and just made you laugh so hard that you know?
Absolutely, and it was, I know it off the back of my hand because it was on the 2018 Predator. You know Keegan-Michael Key.
Oh, yes.
Keegan is an absolute troll. He's actually highly, highly intelligent. I didn't actually know this until I worked with him. He's super, super intelligent, which doesn't surprise me because that's why he's so funny. But he was an absolute clown. He would come in and just say the most. It took a while, but we formed a friendship shooting the film because we ended up working on a couple projects back to back together, and so I got to see him a bunch. But he was absolutely ridiculous because his natural personality is it's like a Jim Carrey. Like they're just charismatic. The way that they like bubble around the world isn't like, look at me, I'm funny. They're just funny. So whenever they're talking, I would be laughing, and they're like, Kyle, you can't be laughing. Like, we need to do this thing. And I'm like, what are we supposed to do? He's just in here being a troll. Like, he thinks it's hilarious. Fucking. So yeah, I remember it well, and there was a lot of laughter on that set. Whether I was in costume or not, he was just always playing. It was really fun.
Yeah, I remember watching him. I remember watching him of all things. Before he broke, he was on the show called. He was on a show on Animal Planet, and it was sort of like a America's Funniest Videos type show. It showed compilation clips of different pets doing wacky things, and he absolutely was hilarious in that. I mean, you could tell that he was destined to go on to bigger and better things.
Oh, yeah,
so let me ask you this: what's it like being? Have you ever come across an actor that you looked at and go like, wow, that person's going places? And has anybody come up to you and looked at you and say, yeah, that guy's going places? Has that happened with you?
Yes, I actually have. I don't know if I would say I'm fortunate or grateful. I think there's something a rapper said one time. He said, "Game recognized game," and I think, you know, I've got to work with Kit Harington and John Leguizamo and John Cena and all these people. The one thing I noticed between all these people, especially ones that have really done well, for the most part, they're quite humble. They're just people, but there's a core energy that they project of confidence and charisma and hard work ethic that they see in others. And that's when I say game recognized game. They see that in me and they go, I like you, man. Like, I see why you're here, and I see why you're going to do well. And more along the lines of that. And I'm like, you're going to be a star. It's like, no, they see that you're grounded, that you have a hard working ethic, that you're confident, that you train hard at what you do, and that you come with a good perspective on your work and your craft. And I think that's seen and acknowledged. It feels really good to know I'm on the right track, to be like, yeah, I am. I'm not trying to compete with any of these people. They're not me. I'm going to come in with my thing, and let it be seen. I'm not going to try and beat Keegan Michael Key or John Cena or John Leguizamo. Like, they are them and they're doing their thing. And I think when they see that you are that and that you're not trying to take something from them, because a lot of like big names are used to people being like, "Oh, I love you, man," and they get
Yeah.
it's an energetic exchange that I learned. This is some wisdom for anyone listening here. Is actors want to be respected in their energy, and if you come up and try and take a bunch of things from them, they're not feeling reciprocated. Like, you're not bringing something to the table to give to them, to be like, hey, let's have an exchange. A lot of the time, it's very like, I want your autograph. I want to be near you. I want a picture with you. I want, hey, They want to just be treated like people. And I've learned through this job that I never came on set and tried to take anything from anyone. I gave space and I was very patient. When I was working on Predator 2018, it took almost a month to have a conversation with Boyd, who was one of the leads, and Trevante, and even Keegan. Like, they all kind of had, like, you don't fuck with their energy circle. And when they're going back and forth, you don't poke them, you just let them be. And slowly but surely, they open the door. And once we got to bond as people and have real conversations, they got to see who I actually was as a person. And they're like, oh, I see you now. Okay, I see why you're here, and I see why you'll do well in life. And I've had that happen quite a few times now, which feels great, because that's how I want to be seen. I'm just another person. It is, yes, it's a cool job, but it is a job. You are there to work, and you are, and when someone,
it's not a vacation.
No. And it's like, man, the amount of stress and people breathing down your neck to like make sure the performance is good, but also like they kind of want to control you a bit, but they also want you to be free. Like, it's a complicated job. So if you treat all your coworkers with respect and you really are patient and give them space, I've been very fortunate to receive a lot of kindness and knowledge. Like, Keegan sat me down. I've never actually said this in an interview before, but Keegan sat me down for a few hours in the trailer once, broke down because I do improv comedy as well. He's a big improviser, and he broke down his whole improv career. He told me how it happened and how he went through Second City and did all these things. And he was like, and this is things you can do to kind of like jump the game in your own accord. And this is some strengths I see in you. And like, he didn't have to do that. That was out. He was just being kind and shared some knowledge with me. And I'll never forget that, because my improv game jumped after that. Like, he's a big inspiration in improv. Like Key and Peele, I'm sure everyone has watched the Key and Peele skit, like everyone. So
you know what's real cool about Key and Peele, what I really liked, and a lot of people just didn't. I don't, a few people did, but man, that show wasn't always funny.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there was a lot of commentary going on in that show.
Yeah.
And some of those skits were like they were played straight.
Yeah.
And while everybody was just laughing, Key and Peele, all that, the football names and the teacher, substitute teacher. I mean, everybody's laughing. But I'm like, man, do you really take a hard look at what they're saying? Like, and when people came out, when they said that Jordan Peele came out of nowhere with his horror movies, when he came out with Get Out, and people were like, oh my God, did you know he could do that? And like, if you really watch the show, he was already setting the table for this. He loves horror movies.
I never got to meet Jordan, but I know through talking with Keegan, like, they're both extremely intelligent people, and there's no accidents with what they're doing. Like, they were setting themselves up, building themselves up. It's why they made that show and blew it up themselves, because like, we want to make our own stuff. We want to have some of that commentary. We want to have some of that comedy, but like, there's layers of intelligence in their comedy, which is funny, because you're right, the average person will just see the slapstick part of it, like Balake, and riff on it. But there's actually, the more you look at it, there's a lot of intelligence behind it.
Yes, there was. How do you prepare for a role? I mean, do you do any preparation differently for, when they show your face, when you're able to be you, like, instead of the makeup? Do you prepare for roles differently from makeup versus your natural look? And what are some of the techniques that you use to get ready for a role?
I definitely prepare differently for something that's a creature character or a person, because a lot of times I'll have physical warm-ups that I definitely do for both. It's good to feel in your body and feel your muscles and feel like limber. A lot more for like when I'm playing me, I have a lot more vocal warm-ups. I do a lot of stuff that I learned through singing about getting my voice form, getting my diaphragm. Also knowing how if I'm gonna have to yell or scream, do I need to strain my voice? Like how to do that and not kill your voice in the first 2 takes, Like, is this gonna be so my warm-ups vary based on what the day's demanding of me. If it's gonna be like a 16-hour day, like every night I had Epsom salt bath. I would just soak in the bathtub and let my body's muscles relax. And if I didn't, it's going to be a problem. So I would prepare not just a warm up on the day, but like the night before, I'd have a routine to get myself and my body ready to do the next day. And yeah, I think a lot of the stuff is similar, like be embodied, be in my voice. If I'm doing a character that requires a lot of emotion and it's just me, I definitely get into my emotional states. So I'll practice like all of these techniques I've learned through the years of training on like how to like play in the state and how to turn on the state quick. So I don't just leave it on for hours. I'll be upset. Like I'll wait 15 minutes. Oh, hey Kyle, 15 minutes, and we're gonna invite you to set. I'm like, okay. So I have 15 minutes to kind of like get myself into that state, and that's why a lot of the times you see when actors are walking from their trailer to set, people are like, oh, they're being kind of dicks, or they're not talking to you. If someone's like, hey man, I love this movie you did, they're not talking to you because they're in their state and they're trying to hold it like a candle, and they're walking that candle to set. They put it on the table on set. You do the scene, and then they have, can do the thing. A lot of the times when they're moving from trailer to set, whatever their warm up was, they're carrying it with them, and they're bringing it to set so that they can just be with the actor and be with that moment. So long.
No, I love it. I love it. I like hearing the process. It's everybody's process is so different. You could ask that I could ask that question every single interview, and I can be guaranteed I'm going to hear a different answer just about every time. That's funny. That's great. You were talking about some of the other actors. One name you mentioned that. I mean, to me, it's a I guess he's like a closest thing to a lead, but he's known as a character actor, John Leguizamo. That guy is a freaking chameleon. Now, even though you're 6'9", do you like the idea of being a chameleon in your roles? Like people don't know who you are from role to role to role. Like like every time we see someone like a George Clooney or a Brad Pitt or what have you, we always know it's going to be that person. Sometimes it's hard to, when you're watching one of their movies, oh, it's Leonardo, instead of the character, it's Jordan Burford, no, everybody says, oh, it's Leonardo, but John Leguizamo, you don't really do that with him. You always see him as the character he plays.
Yeah.
Is that sort of what do you try to do that as well, just to like make every role that you do, make it so individual that it stands out as that? No one can just sit there and say Kyle's just doing Kyle. No, Kyle could do 30 different characters, and you don't know which one's coming at you. Do you like that sort of idea for your career, that people think about you that way more than just more than just saying maybe more than come up there and being noticed as just as the Predator?
Yeah, I absolutely think that I have a lot of characters under my belt that I can play, and that I want to. I want to be seen as someone who's multifaceted. I definitely don't want to just be like, hey, he's just the Predator, the end. Like, nah, I have a lot of aspirations in my life that I want to do. So I train really hard as an actor to embody and portray a lot of different characters. And even with my creature roles, I want to embody a bunch of different characters, which is like Doug Jones. Like, he's had a really cool body of work in terms of the characters that he's got to play and bring to life. I'd also like to have my body of work as me, the actor, Kyle, playing characters, and then like me as the creature playing these different characters, because especially while I'm in my prime, like my body can do some really cool things right now, and my skill set, I really want the playground to show all these characters that I play.
What actors? I mean, what actors who do that? Who do both? Like we mentioned, we got to mention this. If we don't mention him right now, we're both going to burn. Let's talk a little bit about Doug Jones, because you and I really like Doug Jones quite a bit. I mean, of all the people who do the creatures, and he's really well known. What do you think about his career? Do you like what he's done with his career? I mean, is it something you look at and you go like, damn, that guy's got it going on.
I
Um,
mean, yeah,
what's your opinion of Doug Jones?
I mean, Doug's just he's an amazing artist. If anyone ever follows him, he does this thing every Christmas where he sings Christmas carols, and it's hilarious. He's very theatrical, and just a very loving man. Like, he had a thing on set pre-COVID where he would call it Huggles. He'd be like, he just hug everybody. Just like really freely giving, loving man, really patient in the chair, from what I heard. And I've had quite a few chats with him, and he's just like really gracious. He's given me some pointers on where to go with the career, and to have patience, because everyone at some point is going to get screwed too. The industry's going to take a little punch at you. So he's gone through a lot, and he's created, like, his relationship with Guillermo del Toro is very special. That he's be able to work with such a great director and like create these really nuanced characters. And he's knocked it out of the park every time. So I think he's just been consistent with creative choices that have landed and have really aligned and built connections with artists like Guillermo, who genuinely like him as a person and respect him. So he gets a chance to really build really beautiful characters, like Shape of Water. Like his character in Shape of Water is incredible. It's so nuanced in like a love story. Like, it's a creature film love story. Like,
Yeah.
there's very few done properly. So yeah, I think he's had a huge career in general. He's got to play so many different things. And I know that he's, like, I think I mentioned to you way back when he was younger, he did the Mac Tonight commercial for McDonald's, which is a giant moon head. He goes, Mac
Yeah.
Tonight, yeah. And he plays on the
I remember that commercial.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, I didn't know that was him until you told me. I was like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Uh,
it's inspiring to see, because he was doing creature work before creature work was even a thing. Like, he kind
yes.
of paved that road for all of us to follow, to be like, try and do similar. But it still needs a lot more paving, because, like I said, no real distinction between a stunt actor and a creature performer. If they think, oh, you're a mover. Well, no. There's a bunch of different types of methodology when it comes to movement. Someone who's trained in martial arts and dance are going to be two totally different character applications. So yeah, there's still a lot more to bring and learn and pay for the industry to learn about character work.
I mean, when I think of character work and costume work, the two actors that come to my mind right away, I mean, really right away, there's been so many have done it, but the first two I can think of is Andy Serkis and Doug Jones.
Yeah.
And those two are mighty, but they're still just two people. There's just this two.
Yep.
And until I can sit here and feel like I can name off 10 or maybe Rebecca Romaine from X-Men. I remember how impressed I was with her makeup, and I read about it. I read about what she had to go through for her part, but that's not what she does for a regular. That's not really what she's known for. But John and I mean Andy and Doug, that's what they're known for. And
another what is the I know they have a title for it, but he's doing a 2-part Lord of the Rings for Gollum. I think it's like The Search for Gollum, it's called. It's going to start this year. So pray for me.
I haven't heard that. I haven't heard, they're making another Lord of the Rings movie?
He's doing it, Andy. So he has the rights to do, and it's between the first Lord of the Rings and Two Towers, when Gollum disappears. Well, technically in the books, he disappears for a few years. And he's telling the story of what happens where his disappearance is when he goes into Mordor. So, there's a lot of talks about bringing a lot of the original cast back as well. I'm really trying, because I have an agency in the UK as well. I'm a dual citizen, like I'm a citizen of Latvia. I'm trying to get over there because I want to be a part of that project. I want to work with Andy. I want to take that next step and like be with Andy Serkis and play a character. I don't care if I'm an orc general or like I need to be on Lord of the Rings. Like that is one of my favorite sci-fi franchises of all time. Huge fan, and I just know the lore, and my skill set is there. So yeah, you mentioning Andy Serkis just like when like that's where I want to really.
I didn't even know they were doing another Lord of the Rings movie. I knew they were doing I know they're doing the prequel. I guess the Lords of Lords of Power or Rings of Power or something like that.
Rings of Power was Amazon's attempt to take, but remember they only purchased, I think it was like the epilogue, which is like the end of the book. So they made all of that based on this little part that they purchased from the rights. I think Andy has access to do and play with the original story. So fingers crossed, we'll see. I really am trying to find a way in that door to be considered, and honestly, I would love to just have a conversation with him, just like, hey, look at what I have done and look what I can do. I know I'm applicable for this job, but we'll see. I know they're going to shoot some in New Zealand. They're probably going to shoot some in North America and Europe. It'll be all over.
I have more questions, but I am looking at the clock, and I want to leave you a little bit of time for your next appointment. So we'll go ahead and stop it here, and say thank you so much for coming on to the show. I had absolute joy doing this. I want to thank the chat for coming in and hanging out with us and asking some great questions. Yeah, this has been great. I cannot thank you enough for helping me get this together in such a short time. And I hope everybody enjoys watching it. Those who are watching on the replay, thank you for being here. Wow. Well, tomorrow night, we'll be back here tomorrow night. We got a full week of shows this week. Tomorrow night, we'll be talking with author Frank. Oh, guys, speaking of last names, I'm just going to call him Frank. My good friend Frank will be here tomorrow night, and we are going back into the world of writing. He's written several novels. We're going to be talking with Frank. And then on Thursday, we're talking with horror editor Danielle. Oh, boy. What is me and my name? If I didn't know any better, I would think that I'm having a stroke or something. I'm not, but I just can't pronounce Sunby. And she'll be here on Thursday, and we're going to be talking to all things horror related as far as the written word, and looking forward to talking to her as well. To the chat, I want to say thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, Mary. And yes, Mary wanted to remind me that she is the one that picked the Midnight Man for us to cover. And Mary always picks some really interesting shows. Thank you, Mary. And we'll be back at the end of the month on the 29th, and we're doing the Babadook.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much, and we'll see you tomorrow at 8:00 right here. Same bat time, same bat channel. Kyle, I know you have to go, so normally I would stay afterwards and talk a little bit, but I know you have to go, so we'll let you go, and then I'll stay in touch with you through Facebook. Thank you again for your time. Thanks, everybody. Thank you again. Ciao. Have a great night.
Take care.
Peace.